Hi students, this is the overview video for week 12. And what we are doing this week is completing our draft, putting it all together and submitting it. So initially, this was intended to be a one draft essay, but after speaking with students, just getting some feedback from the students I'm meeting with and talking to, I'm going to put another deadline and extension. So basically, this one that you're going to submit this week for your final draft will be a draft, and you'll have an opportunity to make changes with the feedback that I give and submit a final draft version. Okay, so as usual, the Writing Project 2 handout is here, just reposted with all the need to know basics when I first assigned the assignment. Okay, so if you need to look at that, it's there. This is the new most important page in the unit, and the reason it is important is because I have a new guide. I know it's the same theme because I was trying to keep them all together. Remember, there was a part 1 focusing on the first part of the paper, a part 2 focusing on the second part of the paper. Now this is kind of the walkthrough that kind of gives you context for what are we doing when we're putting it all together. What does that mean? What's involved in that? So that's kind of more of the overview to give you the larger view picture. Inside that presentation, I do have a couple of videos, but I also linked to them here just to make it easier for you guys to find. And these are more little demonstration, shorter videos on a couple things. One is the draft overview, what it looks like. So I give you a handout, which is also in this page, of like a sample essay that I made. And so that one's going to be your example. And then on the right hand side here, this is a demonstration of how to put your images into your document, and I explain why in the video I'm using tables because I was using Office 365 online. But anyway, so that is all there for you, so you can kind of see what it looks like and everything that goes in it. Okay, all that is there. So this is the link to the sample essay that I made for you. It's a draft, so let me clarify that. My own draft, which, hey, it's a draft. It's not perfect. I've been going in there and just editing, demonstrating real life writing process. So I will adjust and change wording here and there on the draft, but overall the document will not change. The reason I wanted to give this to you is really more as a visual, so you can kind of see, well, what is it supposed to look like when it's all put together? Okay, so that's what this video goes over, okay? And just kind of shows you, what do the citations look like, the images, all that stuff together. And then the last section here is focused on the works cited page because, yes, even though you may not have used research like for this assignment, maybe you don't have any websites or information about your PSA that you went in, because that wasn't a requirement, but what the requirement was for this is to document any sources that you use. And so the majority of you, everybody, went to a website and is using an image from that website for the analysis part, right? So you have to document that, and then you also have to document the PSA you make with the tool you use to make it. So that's what we're documenting. Okay, those are specific sources. We're doing very specific things in our document and referring to things, and so we need a very clear system of citation, of documentation, to make sure we're attributing everything we used in our paper. Okay, so this document, you can actually download this and use this as a guide. You can even use the templates I provided. So because there's different options for tools and things, most everybody will have at least 2 citations, right? One for the image you analyzed. Okay, that's on the Digital Synopsis website. So we got to document that. And then we got to have a citation. We got to document, again, as I said before, your own image and the tools you use to make that image. So those 2 are on here. Okay, but I had to give an option too for anyone who did not use AI. Maybe used a digital tool like Canva without AI. So there's a slightly different format, different template for that. So all these options are here, right? And so if you look at the headers here, it kind of tells you what it is. If you did use any kind of website information, you still have to document that. So if you went to a website and researched your PSA's campaign, then you would need to do that. If you went and researched anything about your issue, your social issue, and you wanted to include information on that, you would need to cite that. So if there's any information outside of the scope of the images, then there's a template for how to cite that. Okay, and then for the last piece here is very specific to formatting, things you need to know to make your works cited page. And, oops, I did not mean to do that. Let me scroll down finally. Oh, down here, this is what I was trying to show you. Down here, this is little short clips, videos of how to do a hanging indent on your works cited page and how to alphabetize citations. That's easy. Really, with only 2 citations, you can just cut and paste to move them around. But this kind of shows you how to do it using the toolbar. Okay, so all of these resources you have to help you kind of put together your draft. And then I am reminding you that you have access to BrainFuse. Okay, so you can use that. And I also made a handout for how to use AI for feedback. As students use it more and more, I want to make sure that I give you some guidelines for how to use it if you are using it for feedback. So this is a handout for that. I would start seeking feedback. I will give you feedback on all the technical and the citations and the images. That's going to be my focus for you this week, because I know that's a lot of extra things to kind of consider and put together in a draft like this. So you can use BrainFuse, you can use some AI feedback, with the caveat that you've got to put the work in if you want to use AI for feedback. That requires a lot of critical thinking, and I explain that in the handout. So just be cautious if you're using that to get some handout. And then, so the main deliverable this week, the main thing you're submitting is your draft. Now, I made this draft in the category of a discussion assignment, so it's a smaller grade, okay? So with the rationale that, as with the peer review, what you're doing really is you're submitting it and getting feedback. So we're going to count that as a discussion, okay? And you can even respond back to my feedback, and then it's even more of a discussion, right? Okay, so all the specifics are here for what ideally you should have in your draft if you want, the most effective feedback. And everything there. So you will need to submit this as a Word document so I can write on it. If you submit it, if I can't write on it, then I'm not going to be able to give you good feedback. I have to be able to write on the document. So do make sure that you submit it as a Word document. Okay. And I will send out a little update announcement, or if you're in one of my NCBW classes, we'll probably talk about it, how we're going to use the following week to make changes and revise. So you still have time to make improvements and to keep working on your draft. And if you have any questions or need help, as always, I'm here. Please reach out.